In the year 1324, a caravan left West Africa carrying an amount of gold that, by some estimates, has never been matched by a single person in human history. Not oil barons, not tech billionaires, not a single monarch before or since. It stretched for miles. 60,000 people, 12,000 slaves, each one carrying 4 pounds of gold bars. 80 camels loaded with more gold dust than most countries held in their entire treasuries. And at the Here's a question. Name 3 West African empires before the year 1500. If you're struggling, that's not an accident. It's a gap in how history gets taught, not a gap in what actually happened. While European kingdoms were still recovering from the Black Death, the Mali Empire controlled something more valuable than any single kingdom's territory. It controlled half the world's gold supply, not half of Africa's gold, half of the world's. It started with a man named Sundiata Keita, sometimes called the Lion King of Mali. Sundiata united a collection of small Mandinka kingdoms in the early 1200s, after defeating a rival ruler in a battle still retold as oral epic poetry in West Africa today. But Sundiata didn't build an empire on conquest alone. He built it on something smarter: control of the trade routes. Picture the map. Gold came up from mines in the south. Salt came down from the Sahara in the north, mined in slabs so valuable they were sometimes traded pound for pound against gold. Mali sat directly in the middle of both routes. Every ounce of gold heading to the Mediterranean world, every slab of salt heading south, passed through Mali territory, and Mali taxed it. Mali got rich by being the toll booth for 2 of the most valuable commodities on earth. By the time the throne passed down through a few generations to a man named Musa Keita in 1312, the empire wasn't just wealthy. It was about to become globally famous, almost by accident. Here's where the numbers stop making sense. Modern economists and historians who have tried to estimate Mansa Musa's wealth run into a real problem. There is no accurate way to calculate it, because introducing that much gold into any economy changes the value of gold itself. So what did he actually do with it? Timbuktu, a city most people today can only name as a punchline for the middle of nowhere, was under Mansa Musa one of the intellectual capitals of the entire medieval world. He funded the construction of the Sankore Madrasa, which became a university housing one of the largest libraries on earth at the time. Historians estimate hundreds of thousands of manuscripts on astronomy, law, medicine, and theology. This wasn't a wealthy warlord sitting on a pile of gold. This was a deliberate empire-building project, using wealth to buy something that outlasts wealth: reputation, knowledge, and permanence. And then, in 1324, Mansa Musa decided to do something that would make all of that irrelevant compared to what happened next. He decided to walk to Mecca. Every able Muslim is expected to make the Hajj once in their life if they can. Mansa Musa could very much afford it. The caravan described at the start of this video wasn't even the most disruptive part. The most disruptive part happened in Cairo. Musa's caravan stopped in Cairo for several months on the way to Mecca. And because he was, by every account, extraordinarily generous, he gave away gold constantly, to officials, to the poor, to anyone he interacted with. Here's the part that sounds like a joke, but is economically very real. When you flood a market with a currency, that currency becomes less valuable. Musa gave away so much gold that gold itself dropped in value across the entire region. The Venetian, Egyptian, and Arab economies that depended on gold as a stable store of value took over a decade to recover. A single stopover from a king who wasn't even trying to make an economic statement caused more monetary disruption than most wars of the era. Here's the twist that made it worse for Musa personally, though better for history. On the way back from Mecca, he ran out of gold. He had given away so much that he had to borrow money at interest just to get his own caravan home. But the legend was already made. Word of a kingdom so wealthy its king could crash Cairo's economy by accident spread across the Mediterranean and into Europe. By 1375, a Spanish cartographer put Mansa Musa on the Catalan Atlas, one of the most important maps of the medieval world, sitting on a throne, holding a gold nugget the size of an apple. For the first time, Europe knew West Africa existed, and knew specifically that it was unbelievably rich. So if Mali was this powerful, this wealthy, this globally known, why does almost nobody learn about it today? Part of the answer is brutally simple. Who writes the history determines what gets remembered. An empire that peaked before European colonization of Africa didn't fit the story colonial-era historians wanted to tell. Mali itself didn't help its own longevity. After Musa's death in 1337, succession disputes weakened central control. By the 1400s, a rising power called the Songhai Empire, built by a former Mali general, eclipsed Mali and absorbed much of its territory and trade dominance. But here's the actual point of this video, and why forgotten doesn't mean small. At its height, the Mali Empire covered roughly the size of Western Europe. Its wealth genuinely reshaped a world economy for over a decade, with nothing but a religious pilgrimage. The richest human being who has ever lived wasn't a robber baron or a tech founder. He was a 14th century king from an empire most people can't place on a map. And for one brief, chaotic pilgrimage, he made the entire medieval world watch. If empires this massive can just disappear from common memory, what else has history quietly erased? That's exactly what this series is going to dig into next. Subscribe for the history they never taught you.